Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to go back to a brewery who I only introduced you to for the first time a couple of videos back. But I do know this brewer fairly well from having reviewed some of our other beers. For this one we are going to head back up towards the Stockholm area and we're going to take a look at my second beer from Hop Notch Brewing. So this one is called the Bootprint and it's a session IPA coming in at 4.8%, and this beer is brewed as part of the Pink Boots brew collaboration, which is an annual thing basically that celebrates women in the brewing industry, which I think is pretty cool. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the video in fact. But looking forward to trying this one. I enjoyed the last beer that I had from Hop Notch Brewing, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this particular beer. So yeah, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I'll do in the future from Hop Notch Brewing. Second time I'm trying one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Hop Notch Brewing then before we taste the beer. So Hop Notch Brewing was founded back in 2017 by Jessica Heydrich and Marcus Cooperade, who is her sambo or husband. I'm not sure exactly which it is. But Jessica has a background as a drug researcher, and then she was recruited to Galatea as their head brewer back in 2009, and she oversaw their growth to be one of the largest craft breweries in Sweden. They're also a very big kind of food and drink company, and at the time she left them they were the third largest craft brewery in Sweden. Marcus previously worked as a civil engineer, also in the IT industry for a period of time, and he also had some experience in the reserve branch of the Swedish military too, and he largely takes part in the kind of business and operations side of the brewery these days, while Jessica deals with the brewing aspect of things. So Jessica left Galatea in 2017 to found her own brewery, but then she was offered the chance to brew at Vaxholm's brewery just to the south of Stockholm, and so there she decided that she would take up the job of being the Vaxholm brewery's head brewer, and she also brews the Hop Notch beers at the same time. So it's a kind of dual coordinated effort, if you like. But as of May 2019 they've produced around 5 or 6 different types of beer, so still only a few things getting out there, but they do have a variety of styles, and Jessica said that she wanted to dedicate Hop Notch Brewing to be the kind of more adventurous American type craft beers, if you like. But that said, she's produced a couple of IPAs. Their first beer was a session IPA from what I gather. They released also the Amarillo IPA. They've got an Old Bruin and also an Imperial Milk Stout, I think it is too. So hopefully those are beers that are also released through Systembolaget at some point in time. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about the brewery just now. Jessica Heydrich, very well known for her time brewing the St. Erik's Brewery beers, and yeah, if you get the chance to try some of them, I highly recommend that you do. But keep an eye out for the Hop Notch Brewing Company from the moment, because I think they'll release some interesting things over the next couple of months. So yeah, as always, the brewery website's in the description below if you want to learn a little bit more, and of course you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram if you want to keep up to date with the latest goings on there. So yeah, a little bit about the Pink Boots initiative as well. So basically, as I mentioned earlier, this is an initiative that celebrates women being involved in the beer industry and the brewing industry. So it's a really cool initiative, and essentially I think there's a beer recipe that's agreed centrally somehow, and every year the breweries that have female head brewers or whatever will actually take part, and everyone will brew this. And I'm sure I've seen the Pink Boots beer released by a couple of breweries. I mean, of course it's been done by St. Erik's Brewery when Jessica was there, now it's been done by her at Hop Notch as well, and I'm sure I've seen it done by Moo Brew in Scotland as well, and there is someone else who I have seen it done by, but you know, the name doesn't spring to mind at the moment. But yeah, it's a really cool initiative. You know, for a long time women were kind of excluded from education in the same way that men were, which was just stupid, to be honest. But yeah, it's really cool to see them promoting these things and trying to get women into science, because generally when it comes to physical science and engineering, in my experience, at least with my chemistry and an astrophysics background, it really is male dominated, so it's always good to see women kind of making inroads into to science and engineering, because it's diversity of thought that I think is our main strength when it comes to research. So yeah, cool initiative from Pink Boots. But yeah, as I said earlier, this beer comes in at 4.8%. It's a session IPA, and they've also added some sea buckthorn to this one, which is quite an interesting thing. I'm sure I've had that in one of the Brewdog Hello My Name Is beers before. But yeah, let's go on and actually have a taste of this beer and see how we get on. So on the side then it says, Pink Boots Brew Day is all about camaraderie of women in the beer industry, from owners to sales reps to brewers and so on. We are part of an international community that aids in providing scholarships to women in the beer industry. Education is valuable to our industry, and that's why Pink Boots and this beer is important to the beer world. This year we are brewing a juicy session IPA with the lemons of the North, Sea Buckthorn. So yeah, boot print is unfiltered for the taste, not for the haze, and the layout in this one is sponsored by the High Nose Agency. I don't know if that's anything to do with the High Nose beer that's brewed at Hugines Brewery here in Skåne. So yeah, for this one, kind of nicely presented. There you can see on the side the Hop Notch Brewing Company symbol. They were just trying to line that up with the camera. So yeah, I actually quite like the little roundels. It reminds me of the RAF symbols. So my grandpa was a Spitfire pilot in the war, so I always like things like this. But yeah, it's a really nice layout, this one, and it's pink and fabulous. So as I always say to the kids at school. But yeah, really interesting one, this. So we'll get it out and we'll get on with the tasting. In a 440ml can, session IPA at 4.8%, and it will be nice to try some Sea Buckthorn again at some point fairly soon. So yeah, well, saying some point fairly soon, that makes no sense because I'm going to try it now. Brain is not working this evening. So yeah, but yeah, that looks pretty nice actually. You can smell these sea buckthorns off this. It's got this really sharp citric aroma just as you open up. I think this is going to be pretty good, I have to say. So yeah, if I hold this beer up to the light, it's a very hazy, it's almost just like a tropical fruit juice or a mango juice or something like this. You can see there's a solid half finger of a frothy white head on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall it looks pretty nice. Nothing particularly surprising about this one, considering the way that IPAs are these days. You know, if I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see this one is pretty opaque. There's not a lot of transparency to it. And you know, this hazy thing is what's come to have been expected from New England IPAs over the last the last couple of years. So yeah, it looks pretty nice. Nothing overly surprising about the appearance. So let's take a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on. Ooh, yeah. It really has a little bit of tartness to it, which is kind of interesting. So it really has that sharp, lemony, citricy sort of thing. I need to try some Sea Buckthorn on their own, I think, and just get a real idea of what these flavours are. You know, I always liked yuzu in Japan. It's their lemony kind of citricy things that they've got. And I'm guessing Sea Buckthorn is quite similar for here in the Nordic countries, of course. But yeah, it's got this really interesting, sharp, citricy tart thing. It's almost kind of, it's got the sharpness of lemon and yuzu, and to me there's definitely a yuzu element in this, but it's almost just, it smells a little bit more like lime. But I've always found lime isn't quite as pungent as lemon or yuzu. So it's almost, it has the pungency of lemon and yuzu, but it just appears a little bit more like a lime in the aroma for me. So yeah, interesting aspect that. So yeah, quite a sharp beer, this one. It almost smells as if it has a little bit of a kind of grapefruit, passion fruity kind of juice in it, this beer as well. So yeah. Underneath that, of course, you can pick out some of the nice wheaty, white bready aromas to the beer. I don't know if there's oats in this one. There is a little touch of creaminess to it, a little bit of a biscuity sweetness as well. You can pick up some of the nice hoppy elements in this beer also. So yeah. Little touch of a floral aromaticity. To me, on the green side of things, the hoppy side of the beer really leans a bit more towards the grassy side, but you can pick up just that little bit of earthiness and also some floral characters in there as well. But yeah, I really like how that kind of comes across. So the hoppy side of the beer is really nice. The The fruity side of the beer is really nice as well. The malt base is a little bit interesting, and I've noticed this with a couple of the beers. This beer has that kind of vegetal sort of herbal sort of thing coming out of the yeast, and it reminds me a little bit of the Heady Topper in some way, because I found Heady Topper had this kind of, it's like an old school New England IPA, and it has this sort of grainy vegetal herbal kind of thing that just lies under the malt base, and you can pick that up in this beer as well. And I don't like the aroma of it. I do like the flavour that you get from it, but in terms of the aroma side of things, I don't know what it is. That grainy, malty side of things, it's just something I don't kind of like. I'd be curious to know about the yeast. I need to learn a little bit more about this. But it's not like the London fog yeasts or the things that Cloudwater are using. There are some American New England yeasts that just have this grainy vegetal sort of thing that lies underneath. And the aroma, I don't find it too pleasant, like I said, but it always works out quite well in terms of the flavour of the beer. So if any of you are brewing experts and watching this, do let me know a little bit about the yeast in the description below, because I would be curious to know about that, because the other brewery I noticed this about in Sweden is Nordic Kiwi Brewers. They kind of have the same thing. So yeah, you can really smell that almost vegetal kind of herbal kind of thing out of the malt base in this one. It actually reminds me of my kind of my sort of food waste recycle bin actually. So yeah, it's kind of unusual, but you do get some of the oaty creamy sweetness out of this. You've got a little bit of biscuit quality there as well, and you've got the nice smooth wheaty sort of thing. It's just that vegetal note that's really, to me, it's very out of place in this beer. But it always, it always works out quite well in the flavour. So just be aware of that when you try this one. But in some regards, after trying Heady Topper, you can kind of see where that comes out actually. So yeah, it's interesting that. So as I always say, take a little bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But we're going to have a taste of this one now and see how we get on. So this one is the Bootprint Session IPA, coming in at 4.8%, part of the Pink Boots initiative, which is to encourage women into the brewing industry. A very good initiative in my opinion. But yeah, let's get stuck into this beer and see how we go on. This one comes from Hop Notch Brewing in Vaxholm, just to the south of Stockholm in Sweden. Let's get stuck in. Slange skål. Yeah. Now, it is, they say session IPA, it really is, it's just a very easy drinker, this one. Straight up, very, very easy drinking beer. It really has a very kind of clean mouthfeel to it, this one. I'm sure I said the same about the Hop Start IPA that I had from Hop Notch as well. The beers do have this very kind of clean sort of just feel to them. Straight away you're going to notice with this beer, the middle of your palate's just blanketed with this smooth kind of bready quality, and for me that sort of, there is an element of graininess to this one, and some of those kind of vegetal kind of herbally notes are just pushing their way out in the middle of the palate there. The middle of your palate really kind of dries out with this one, and you start to get more of these kind of herbal vegetal flavours kind of coming out of the beer, which is interesting. Yeah, but this is the thing that you always get with that, with these beers that have this almost grainy aspect to them as well. The more and more you drink of it, the more it kind of smooths out and the less noticeable it becomes. So, as I say, I've always found that the aroma, that kind of herbally vegetal thing that you pick up in the aroma, to be a little bit unpleasant, but you pick up a little bit of it in the flavour in the beginning, but then the beer really smooths out the further on that you go into it. The more that you drink of it, it just smooths out that little bit more. And yeah, the more that you drink of this beer, the juicier it becomes, and also just the smoother it becomes. So this is one, if you do get that sort of grainy thing coming out of the aroma of the beer, take a few sips of it and just let your mouth adjust, because it really will, it tends to be the case that the beer will smooth out really quite nicely, I have to say. So yeah, like I say, nice smooth bready quality to this one, that blankets the middle of your tongue. I do think there's a little touch of a wheaty note to this one as well. The wheat really just sits on top of that and smooths out the beer. Towards the back of the palate you get a little touch of that herbal vegetal thing that I'm talking about, but in the very centre of your palate it's a little bit more kind of biscuity and sweet, this one. The further you go into the aftertaste, you do start to get more biscuity elements out of this beer, which is nice. Yeah, definitely a biscuity element to this beer. I mean, in terms of the malt base, this beer is really quite straight up and very, very smooth, which is great. On the hoppy side of things, back corners of the palate you get a little touch of earthiness there. And as you come further forward, that smooths out. There is a little teeny bit of herbal quality there, and as you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, it just smooths out and becomes a little bit more kind of grassy and floral. But the floral qualities of this beer don't have too much in the way of pungency, and as you go round the very front curve of your palate, it's just got a nicer, light, kind of grassy quality to it, I have to say. When it comes to this particular style, Session IPA, for me, I've always found them to be a little bit more kind of bready and kind of smooth, almost a little bit chalky in the mouthfeel in some cases. But this beer does have a really nice smoothness and sweetness to it the more that you drink. It's one of these beers that I think that you warm to a little bit rather than almost liking it immediately, if that makes sense. It does take a few sips to kind of get fully what this beer's about. Stick the last little bit of it in. But yeah, this is one, just take a few sips of it and I'm sure you'll enjoy how this one goes together. So, yeah, I'm finding that the more I drink of this, the more that the malt base kind of sweetens up as well. But the hoppy side of the beer, like I said, is also pretty nice. In terms of the hoppy side of this beer then, on the fruity side of the beer, as always you can feel that little oily bubble towards the front of your tongue where the juicy fruity esters come out of the beer. And for me, this one leans towards the kind of the mango side of things. There's maybe, I've got a feeling that this just might be Citra that's in here. There could be a little bit of a Galaxy might be the other one, but it doesn't, to me it doesn't feel kind of complex enough to be Galaxy. I've got a feeling that this might just be a straight up Citra Session IPA. But the other thing that's in my mind is that it's a little bit, the flavour of this one is a little bit simple for Citra. So the other thing that it could be would be that it's Simcoe. So it's interesting, I always like playing Guess the Hops with these different IPAs and things when you don't know exactly what's in them. So for me, I'd say the fruity side of this beer, it's got a sort of mango-y, passion fruity quality to it. When you come further forward on the tongue, to me it starts to lean more towards the mangoes. The slightly darker passion fruity flavours are in the back of the palate. And then you get the mango notes a little bit further towards the front. On the front edge of the tongue, it really has a little bit of an almost papaya and apricot-y kind of quality, which is interesting. So a real kind of mix of different tropical fruits in this one, I think. And again, the malt base really smooths out and just becomes more creamy and slightly wheaty the further that you go into the aftertaste as well. And that balances out with the fruity, juicy notes really well, I have to say. So yeah, as I always say, just enjoy the beer as you go along. But to me, nice light juicy tropical fruit notes, a nice smooth malt base, and also just a nice smooth hoppiness. The thing that, I keep using that word smooth, that's how this beer strikes me, as just being very, very smooth and all about how these flavours kind of interact together. So again, it's another pretty damn solid beer from Hop Notch. I have to admit to being put off a little bit by the aroma of the things, the sort of vegetal herbal things that you can get from some of these yeasts that certain breweries use in the New England IPAs. I find it a little bit off-putting. But you always have to go into things with an open mind, and if you try it and take a few sips, it just smooths out very nicely, and the same goes for this beer as well. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would describe this beer as being fairly light-bodied actually for a Session IPA. Good little bit of activity from the carbonation. Overall, It's kind of a wet mouthfeel, this one, but it does have an element of crispness to it. Nice little touch of hoppy bitterness there. I think you're lucky though if you get about 25 IBUs out of this one. Maybe you're pushing 30. Good balance in the malt base, a little bit of sweetness there. It does dry out a little bit the further you go into the palate as well, and there's a little touch of sweetness on the back end of it. Some nice juicy fruity qualities also. So yeah, just it's a nice beer, this one, and I do like how it goes together. So have a go at it for yourself and just see what you think. And it's always cool to support an initiative like the Pink Boots collaboration. So yeah, thumbs up to Jessica for this one. She's done an interesting job with this beer, and I'm curious to see how she progresses with this, with brewing the more American styles of beer. I think she's got a particular knack when it comes to German traditional beers, and I would be curious to see how she continues to explore that. But I think that's something you're more likely to see with the Vaxholm's brewery brand rather than our own Hop Notch Brewing. But I'd be really curious to try her stout and also the Eau de Bruin as well. So hopefully they're released in cans at some point too. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one was the Bootprint, a session IPA coming in at 4.8%. to support the Pink Boots initiative, which is to promote women getting into the brewing industry. So a really nice beer that smooths out very nicely, and just it becomes a really nice easy drinker. So it's a session IPA in every sense of the title, I guess you could say. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Hop Notch Brewing, and I'm sure we'll return to these guys at some point in the fairly near future. Until the next time, Slanja just now, and I thank you guys for watching. Slanja, Skull, make sure you check out this beer, check out my social media, and I'll catch you guys later. The Bootprint from Hop Notch Brewing in Vaxholm, just outside of Stockholm here in Sweden. Slanja, Skull.